My name's Martin and I'm a specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers. In this video, I'm going to share with you my insights of FP1 and FP2 around Hungary. We saw some really interesting stuff, guys, stuff I've never seen before. Onboards with brake traces. Got a sneak peek on some tire temperatures on the Mclaren. So a lot of cool things that I want to share with you in this video. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're going well. Let me start with a little bit of context. I'll just quickly bring you up to speed what's been happening this weekend and updates on the weather, different approaches to the corners, a little bit of driver's mentality as well. I will try to get through as quickly as possible because I know we want to get onto the driving technique. Obviously, that's going to be the meat and gravy of this video, but yeah, let me crack on. So the weather, we've been keeping an eye on this. We spoke about it in the live stream yesterday. I'll bring it up on the screen now for you guys. So this was what we were looking at in the live stream. Sunday, we were keeping an eye on this rain that was 8.7 millimeters due and nothing really on Saturday. If I scroll down, that's now intensified to 9.5, but the rain has stopped in the afternoon, is now all in the morning. So it looks like that early morning, like overnight rain between Saturday and Sunday with it tapering off. So the update is for maybe a wet start, but that'll be about it. So similar to what we had in Spa, maybe a wet start and then drying as we go. The rest of the weekend looks dry and it's moving in that direction. The rain is just getting condensed to that overnight, early morning rain. I wanted to also fill you guys in on the summary of the 4 approaches to long corners of constant radius. That's the specific technical corner that we have a lot of here in Hungary, and you need a lot of front grip. But there's so many different techniques and ways you can play with your rotation in these corners. Your 4 options are tight lines, short corners, early turn-ins, or geometric normal racing line as well. Just so that we're clear and define terms, like as we go into this weekend, we're going to be talking a lot about these. So I want to just define our terms again in this video. And that way we don't have to do it for the rest of the weekend. Let's jump over to the whiteboard now. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I've picked turn 13, for example, which is the second last corner, and just give you guys a bit of an insight into what these look like. So we'll just start with the geometric. It just means that the cornering through here is very consistent. And yeah, this is really our reference line. So we don't often drive or teach or coach or talk about this line much, but it is a reference line for the other ones. Lewis Hamilton's normally doing the early turn-in. That is, he starts turning in from earlier and then connects in with this curb or apex a little bit earlier as well. You can call it early apex. Whereas if you look at the geometric, the turn-in's a little bit further along this curb. So that's the early turn-in, and Lewis likes to do that. Peter calls this a short corner because it is a shorter distance compared to the geometric, but it's not a short corner in the definition of Rob Wilson, which talks about shortening your rotation, which makes it more like a V style. So we'll get on to short corner in a little bit as well, but that's early turn in. And yeah, that's classic of Lewis. You'll see him do that and combine the brakes on entry a lot as well. The tight line is something I've brought to the world, hopefully, and Charles Leclerc does this a lot as well. The tight line says we're not going to use all of the available track width on entry. We're going to leave a little bit of space across here and keeps the car nice and straight on the turn in. I love the tight line. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a very underutilized technique in Formula One, but Charles drives like that sometimes. We'll have a look as we go on in FP1, see what's going on. And this is the short corner. This is Max Verstappen. He loves this. Firstly, he approaches from very far out wide and he's extending the straight coming in. He's only turning gently and braking gently at this point. So he's extending the straight and then bam, he cranks on the brakes there and the steering. And then he's like throttle early and all the way out as well. So that's your short corner line. Max is typical of this as well. This is why Max complains a lot about front tire life, because in that phase of high speed entry, and braking softly, he's carrying speed up to that rotation point, like quite a lot of speed. So he complains about fronts just due to what he's doing in that period of cornering. And Lewis complains about rears a lot because he carries that speed in with heavy brake pedal, whereas Max is braking softly on that initial input. So look, I thought we'd just define our terms, start there. And yeah, I hope that makes sense. If you have a question, drop it in the comments for me below. Guys, I wanted to talk to you about Lando's mentality coming into this weekend. We heard an interview with him. I'll play it for you guys now, and then maybe we can react to it.
You said before, switched off social media, not looking at all of that, just focusing on this season. So how different does this summer break look to previous summer breaks? What will you be doing?
It's not going to be that different. I'm still on social media every now and then. I'm still gonna go and have a good time with my friends in different places, and we're going to have a little golf trip and do different things. So really, it's not any different to what I've done the last few years, which is a good thing. That it shouldn't be any different. There's no reason it should be different. I still have the priorities of making sure I come back more prepared than ever, and in a better way than I can possibly be. Yeah, for the same sake, I should treat it no different to how I have done before, which is Formula One is the priority, and I make sure I'm in the best shape I can be for that.
I've just been with Carlos Sainz over at Williams, and he had some lovely things to say about you, not surprisingly. One of the things he said was, I thought it was actually really powerful. He said that you're the most open driver on the grid, but that in the modern world, sometimes people can almost use that against you, like you're really honest, and then people say, oh, now you're too honest.
Yeah.
So how important is it to you to be this open book that you are?
That's tricky. I don't know if it's like about importance. You know, it's not like I'm trying to be like this because I think it's important. I'm just being myself, and I'd rather be myself than try to be something I'm not. I'd rather do what I enjoy in my life and feel like I've just done what I feel like I should have done in my life than try to pretend I'm someone else, or try to pretend like I'm the racing driver that everyone thinks you need to be or should be, or you know. A lot of people like to kind of set these stereotypes, but and some things are probably right and along better lines. For me, I just want to enjoy my time here. I work hard. I do everything I can to win races and try to be the best. But that's it. Other than that, I'm here to enjoy my life, share it with others, and try to stand on the top step. And that's as simple as I try and keep it.
Okay, my reaction. I've mentioned this before in a Mind and Machine podcast with Philippe, and I said, does Lando actually want to win? And I referred back to Nick Kyrgios, and I said, Nick was very happy just to play. He just didn't want to win. He didn't want to coach. He didn't want to pay the tax. He didn't want to get up at 6 a.m. He didn't want to train and work on the details. He wanted to travel around the world, play tennis, win a few games or not, and just have fun in doing it. The difference is that Lando, up to this point, this is the first time I've heard Lando say, I just want to have fun and enjoy my time and win a few races and that sort of thing. It's the first time I've heard him say those words. And I've always thought, does Lando really want to actually win? And we all just assume that because he's in F1, he does. But clearly he's not ready to pay the tax requisite either. There is a price that you need to pay, I think, if you want to become a world champion. And that's, you know, hard work, dedication, sacrifice. You only need to talk to Nico Rosberg. So nothing new here for Lando that we know he's not prepared to pay that tax. But then I'm not sure, like, it's, you know, it's a very different answer to, I want to win. Could be my only chance for a championship. I'm going to do everything it takes possible to win. I'm going to dedicate myself and look at things with the engineers. And yeah, I'll have a short break, but a lot of it is going to be prep for, mate, coming up, we got night races, we got sprint races, we got street circuit races, we got rainy races. There's so much prep that you could be doing. So yeah, I mean, you guys let me know in the comments what you think about it. But from a coach's point of view, it's a terrible mentality. I have to be honest and tell it for what it is. And it's almost like, if it comes to me, great, but I'm not prepared to work for it. That's at least how it sounds to me anyway. But let me know what you guys think. And the other thing I wanted to fill you guys in was Charles Leclerc in the Thursday press conference was questioned on why this track wasn't a good one for him. Again, we'll play the audio clip and we'll react to it in a sec.
However, this weekend, I'm not sure. It's, I think, by far the worst track of the season for me. So I'm looking forward to try and prove that wrong and to have finally a good weekend here in Budapest.
Why? What is it about the Hungaroring?
I don't know. I wish I knew. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not been very successful for me in the past. It's probably something with my driving style. I've got to work a little bit harder compared to other tracks. But that's fine.
Is that odd in some way? Because you've always been so good at Monaco, and a lot of drivers refer to this one as Monaco without the walls.
Oh, well, maybe it's the walls that are missing. I don't know, yeah, I don't know from where it's coming from, but I'm still confident we can have a great weekend, and yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Good on Leclerc. He was funny in that interview. Like, he didn't know what was going on, but he didn't seem fazed by it. Track's got nothing to do with Monaco, so I'm not sure why they asked that question. Yeah, it's totally different in terms of elevation, cambers, long corners, etc. But look, from my perspective, driver coach's perspective, I've never seen anything in Leclerc's driving style that would prevent him from having a good weekend in Hungary. Everything I've seen with Leclerc, we mentioned that sometimes he drives the tight line. Everything I've seen from Leclerc looks fine. He should have a good weekend. I don't see a reason why not. But I don't mind his approach. Like, he was honest. He was like, I'm not sure. I guess the second step would be like, I'm going to work hard to look into that, but I'll be working hard to look into that. Hopefully I can give you guys an answer as to why Leclerc's struggling, if he does struggle this weekend. But personally, I just don't see any reason why in his technique he should struggle. But that's got a little asterisk next to it. To be confirmed. Let's wait and see what happens this weekend. Now, a couple of other things I'm looking out for. Lando's got a new front end suspension. He's had this for a while, since Canada, but given that we've got all the long corners of constant radius here, this is the litmus test for me, if it works or doesn't work. If he out-qualifies Oscar or gets on top of Oscar or shows signs of life, like competing for pole by a little bit more than usual. Normally, these guys have been like this all season in terms of qualifying neck and neck. If there's a 10th or 2 gap here, then this has definitely worked in Lando's favor. And same with Oscar. If there's a 10th or 2 gap, I think we can go on to say like Lando's struggling with the front end. But you guys have seen all the videos in Spain, in Jeddah, in China. Every time Lando turns in, the front's so powerful it pulls the rear around. So this is like, with the long corners of constant radius, this is the litmus test for me. I'll be keeping an eye out on that story this weekend. A new front wing for Max Verstappen. I guess we know the story with Max. I think it is one of his weaknesses. That is long corners of constant radius. The whole short corner thing, I think it's an overrated technique. I think there are better ways to take long corners. And I think that you're exposing the front tires to too much load for too long with that style. High speed entry, that is. And I used to drive like that in the sim. And since now that I know a bit better, I've changed. So I've changed to one of the other 3 options: tight line, geometric, or early turn-ins. Actually, I use all of those when I have to. Short corners I kind of save for the wet. I think it works better in the wet. You go out wider, do your rotation off the rubber and so on. Anyway, new front wing for Max. They're trying to give him more front downforce to allow him to, Max is always chasing front grip, isn't he? Because he's asking so much of the front tires that's where he's using the grip on the corner. So interesting. We'll follow his situation this weekend. Keep an eye out for the -5 brake bias and the thing still doesn't turn, or I've got understeer, or the fronts are cooked, or things of that nature. Yeah, keep an eye out for those sort of radio messages from Max. Okay, let's get on to the FP1 analysis. So very hot conditions. That means if you've been following this year, Mercedes are going to be nowhere and McLaren are going to be strong, but they're strong in all conditions. For some reason, the Mercedes is like a chocolate teapot, just doesn't seem to work anything above 20 degrees and just melts pretty much. So it was very hot. It looked like overall grip was pretty good, but it also looked for me like braking grip was not there. Every time drivers pushed the brakes, particularly into turn 1, they had a lot of lockups. So turn 1 front lockups were Dragovic, Hamilton, and Lando Norris on the inside front, right front tire. And then on the outside front, Carlos Sainz as well. So what does that mean? Well, I guess a lack of front downforce or a lack of front grip, potentially on one side, on the car's side, and or too much brake pressure input from the guys as well. Really interesting. Like I said at the start of the show, I'm going to show you guys some onboards. We've finally got the brake as a pressure instead of like an on-off switch. I'll show you guys that as well into turn 1. I think George was smashing the brakes into turn 1 on the softs at the end of the session. But it goes to show, like, even in those straight line braking with high downforce, apparently still need to be progressive in some areas as well. But we'll talk to that a little bit more. We had some rear locking into the chicane as well. Hamilton, of course, locking the rears on the entry to the chicane, and Russell as well. So I'm keeping an eye out for the brake balance changes, as I always do, and the differential changes. Very appropriate for this circuit. You've got your long corners, you've got your straight line braking zones as well. You've got your chicanes braking from slow speed. So you need to keep on top of, changing the switches as per usual. Very technical track, this one of the most technical on the calendar. All right, let me show you guys those videos now. Let's have a look together. This is really exciting. So hopefully it gives you guys an insight. Let's start with Max Verstappen. I'll bring it up on the screen for you guys now. So this is Max, and I'm looking at this here, this brake little trace on the left. So Max, very progressive, early turn in into turn 2. I like that from Max. That's very different to the short corner technique that I drew on the whiteboard before. That's different to how Max would normally go racing at turn 2. So that looks healthy for me. The brakes there go on progressively. I'm watching the brakes, how much he uses, how he carries them in, how he combines it with the steering. yeah, this is really insightful for me. It's the first lap I've ever seen with that brake trace showing. So yeah, just enjoy it and take it in. Obviously we'll get some insights a little bit later on, but he's on the mediums here. Track's been cleaned up. There's 8 minutes to go. So decent amount of grip. I think the car's got a lot of fuel in it. You can see as well, because he's very progressive with the brakes. So yeah, even into these straight line heavy braking zones, Max is putting the brakes on very progressively. Let's have a look into turn 13, the one we drew on the whiteboard. Yeah, he does leave the space and try to get into the apex, but doesn't quite. And then here as well, he's very soft with the brakes, which is nice, actually. That's what you need to do on the mediums on a full tank of fuel. Lovely, really nice to see. And for me, at least, my insights are that Max was on the medium and it was a heavier fuel run. He was more progressive with the brake pedal. George was on the soft, and actually he was smashing the brake pedal in a lot of areas, namely turn 1 and the braking into turn 12 towards the end of the lap. And the other inside is just the different lines. In turn 2, Max dived in with the early turn-in approach, and George tried to do the short corner. But do you see, that's why I'm not a fan of it, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get into the apex at one point. In that case, George didn't get into the apex. Let's jump over to the whiteboard. We'll have a chat now and a bit of analysis about the final corner in FP1. It was the only corner we spent a lot of time watching because F1 is obsessed with showing them on the start-finish straight for some reason. They don't normally show them. They show them either finishing a lap or starting a lap. So we finally got to see a bit of action at the final corner. Long corner, constant radius, so still insightful. But I'd love to see more turn 2s and turn 13s and turn 5s as well. Unfortunately, we got what we got. But I'll jump over to the whiteboard. I'll show you a few tricks here into the final corner. So what I'm looking out for is who is finding this entry position right up against the edge of the track on turn-in. And yeah, I'm looking for who is doing the whole short corner thing, which would mean that you leave a bit of space and you want to just bend the car and then it's all kind of throttle thereafter. That's how the short corner would look. Or who is diving in early, that's taking the apex early, or who's doing the whole tight line thing, which means you don't find that red mark. You pretty much come here and then just dive in like that inside. So really interesting. I'm looking for all those things. And yeah, I'll share with you some of the drivers now and what they were up to. So this was Lando's entry into the final corner. He was consistently right up against the edge of the track on entry. Now, maybe in the McLaren, he can afford to do this. But personally, I think that he's asking too much of the car to be able to turn in from that position and change hands quickly and direction change. Actually, that's the other thing I mentioned. I didn't mention, sorry. I'll go back to the whiteboard and just show you guys. The one thing I didn't mention is the hand switch that has to happen across here. So if I just draw like a dotted line across here, you go from turning left to then turning right. So I'm also looking for how quickly the drivers switch their hands. As per Andrew Shovelin, what you saw in the live stream, the weight transfer is not a helpful thing. And so you want to minimize that. And the steering wheel being a weight management tool, you want to minimize or slow down how quickly you change your hands. If you go from steering left to quickly steering right, you're saying to the car, go that way. No, go that way. And cars don't like that. What you need to say to the car is go that way. Okay, now prepare to come this way and now go this way. So you've got to guide the car through, sort of thing. So anyway, with Lando, he's doing the exact opposite of that. But I think the car's so good that it's masking. I think there's opportunities for Lando in the final corner. And yeah, I don't think he needs to use all of the available track width. Even though he was top and everything, I still think there are opportunities here. Opportunities for Oscar then to try something different, early turn-ins or tight line. Let's have a look at a few videos. We'll have a look what Leclerc was up to here. We said before he was like tight line driver. So let's see if he uses all of the available space. No, he doesn't. Have a look at that. I'll slow it down for you guys. Bang, he just turns in from there. So it's slightly tighter than Lando. So he's covering less meters. Have a look at this from Sainz. Looks like he gets into this corner pretty early, which is good. And the Williams looks like it's got mega front end grip, guys, by the way. Remember I spoke about front grip, how important it is in long corners. So Carlos starts turning in from very far back down that short straight between 13 and 14. So that's an early turn in. Let's have a look at the other Williams I've got as well. Alex Albon. He's trying to do something totally different, trying to do the short corner, miss the first part, crank the steering at the end. But look, you see the way he fights the wheel there? I don't know. I just feel like it's an overrated technique. Have a look at this. Just the way he fights the wheel in the middle of the corner. I don't think it needs to be like that. Have a look at this. So this is all good. This is when you're asking a lot of the front. But now when you bend the car and rotate and you're accelerating from that slow speed, that's where you see Alex struggling from. And it's really distinct, right? The point at which he's going fine to the point at which he's struggling. So have a look here when he has to open the wheel and hack away at the wheel a little bit, and then on traction, he's not even flat. Now he's flat, and away you go from there. So it's like, I just feel like either Carlos's or Charles has a better approach. In these sessions, guys, you guys know my philosophy. It's not just your car setup, new front wings and new suspension. Try different lines into these corners as well. You've got 4 options from which to choose from. Yeah, spend a couple of laps on the tight line, spend a couple of laps doing short corners, see what works, check your delta if it's available. And like, yeah, it's a learning curiosity experience. It's like the first time every time you come to a new track, it's the first time you're here with that generation of car. So give it a go, be curious, and yeah, explore those different techniques. Now check this out in FP1, really interesting. I've never seen this before as well. I got a glance of Lando's dash while we were on board the kind of helmet cam, and got to see the tire temperatures. I'll bring them up on the screen for you guys now. But like I say, it's the first time I've saw it. I think it's tire temperatures, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, correct me in the comments. But this 105, 101, 100 and... is that a 6 or an 8? I'm not sure. I think it's 108 actually, and 105 as well. They look like the tire temperatures, eh? So my insight for you guys there is the front left is worth protecting. As you can see, that's overheating a bit more. The rear left as well, but the rear is more than the fronts, which is interesting, guys. Normally, like coming into this one, the live stream, I was talking about front grip is king, long corners, and it is, but the teams of 2025 now, this is not the first set of regulations or something. I think the teams have began to work out how to dial front end grip into these cars such that doesn't seem to be a limitation, at least not in the McLaren. I'd love to see this for like the Red Bull, for example, in the hands of Max. I reckon these fronts would be on fire. But in the McLaren, you see the fronts lower than the rears. At least, yeah, that's maybe an insight there. Again, we know this, right? The McLaren's got mega front end grip, but I guess it's reflected in the temperatures, and during the race, they'll be looking after the rears. But the fronts will still be a limitation too. But let me know if you guys find or had any other thoughts about these temperatures here as well. But yeah, that's the first time I've seen them. Moving on to FP2, Lewis Hamilton has joined the tight line club into the final corner. I think that's fair and fine. And the McLaren drivers both taking those really wide entries, trying to do their whole short corner thing, trying to bend the car around and take that late apex. My insight for you guys there is like, only the McLaren can do this, number one. It's risky to put your left front right up against the grass. We saw Lando go off there. I'll show you guys that too. And yeah, I just think that the McLaren is masking a little bit of, in my opinion, not the best driving technique as well. Only that car has so much downforce and can change direction so quickly. I spoke about this in the live stream as well. I'm like, in Formula One, sometimes you don't necessarily see, like, just if you're driving on your own, not comparing to other drivers, you don't necessarily see the impact of bad technique. The car's pretty good at direction change and braking and turning and entry grip and everything, that it all still feels amazing, but you'd be surprised at even how much more capable they are. Let me show you guys the video now of Lewis's tight line and Oscar Piastri into the final corner, and then I'll jump over to the whiteboard and I'll explain what I'm talking about. Okay, Hamilton into the final corner. There's the tight line, not using all of the available track width on entry. I'll show you guys the external shot now as well. Maybe I'll try to pause it at the point at turn in. Bang, how's that? Leaving, how many meters is that? Is that half a car width? Maybe more? Maybe 3/4 of a car width on entry. Turns in from that position. Very different to what you see with the McLaren drivers, guys. That's the tight line in action. That's class from Lewis. That'll be helpful. Have a look at this with Oscar Piastri. We saw this earlier on in the session. Very different. That's a wide entry and trying to do a short corner as well. Go wider and then bang, sweep it back in one motion. And the McLaren, like I say, only the McLaren can deal with this. So that's a quick steering input and a quick direction change as well. All the available track width now means he's loading up this front left a lot and missing this first part with the plan to add more steering, which Oscar's doing to do the whole short corner thing. Yeah, I think it works in the hands of the McLaren. So like, I'm not going to say McLaren drivers shouldn't be doing this. They've got the grip to be able to cop this. But having your front left here is risky as well. They've just got to be careful of that. Yeah, and in this particular example, actually, in the next example, I just wanted to show you like how Oscar's mistiming his turn-ins a little bit. Have a look at this. It turns in, opens the wheel, goes again. So he's doing similar to what we saw with Lando before. Every time you turn, you're making a prediction for how much grip you think you're going to be. Oscar turns into this, and there's more front grip available than what he thinks. So he has to get out of it and open the wheel and go again. That's a time loss. So have a look at this. Turn, turn, turn. Wow, it's turning. Open the wheel there. See that wheel open? He's way too early into this corner, right, at this point. He gets out of it, has another go. So Oscar now is not at one with the front end grip of the McLarens. The first time I've seen that all year. Lando, quicker in this session by 2/10-ish. I think that gap maintained, 2.9 tenths. That's a lot. That's what we spoke about in FP1. That means Lando's comfortable with the front end of this McLaren. Interesting. Could be game on this weekend, but also moving forward into the championship as well. Now just jump over to the whiteboard now because I want to explain what the McLaren drivers are doing and how the car is able to cop it as well. There's something that they're doing that, you know, strictly speaking, I'm not a fan of, guys. Like I say, is, yeah, loading up the left front a lot by driving, you know, straining it and doing the whole short corner thing with the idea to bend the car and early throttle. The other thing that I think F1 cars are really masking, and all of them are pretty much guilty of this, with the exception of the Ferrari drivers, mind you, Lewis and Charles, when they come across here, it's almost like the car is pointing away, pointing this way, away from the racetrack. Away from like where they want to be, away from the curb and the entry point. And so the car has like this kind of shape and angle pointing away. And then because, like I said, the cars are so good and compliant and so much downforce and everything, when they turn in, it kind of looks fine. Again, you need a keen eye to be able to see that that's not correct. But even if we maintain that turning point, if the car was coming in straighter, I know you've got this corner to consider, that's fine. But if it was coming in straighter and they just turned in, you would have a lot more entry grip because the car's weight is stable and flat, and it's always a more compliant car on turn-in when the car's square to the racetrack. So that's also a mistake. That's something that the tight line can actually clean up, is because when you don't make it to that outer edge, it's kind of straighter for a bit and then you can go in. So again, I think Lewis and Charles are doing a great job into there. And yeah, again, the McLaren's kind of masking that, the angle thing, and the loading up of the outside left front as well. They're getting in here just fine, no problems at all. Yes, there's risk as well. That's a separate issue altogether, but it's just another reason why you probably want to stay away from that area of the racetrack. And we saw Oscar kick up some dust there in FP2. So this was Lando's little excursion off at the final corner. We said they were getting close, and there you go, the left front on the outside again. It's not necessary, you know, this is to go that far. I don't think, anyway. It's just my opinion. Now, the car can deal with it, like I say, but there's too many downsides. There's a risky element. You're going to chew front tires during the race as well. So interesting. I don't think it'll be an issue. Famous last words. I don't think it will be an issue for McLaren to misjudge that turn-in point, and the car can deal with it, at least on the qualifying laps. Whether or not there's a difference in, you know, the race runs and driving in dirty air, and maybe a case for the tight line thereafter. But it was interesting to see that they got close and eventually the mistake came. Now, Max Verstappen had a shocker of a session, didn't he? I've been speaking for a while on the channel about Max's weaknesses in long corners and how he drags the front and so on. So let's have a look at some onboards and see what's going on with Max. Here you go. So he's just struggling to hit apexes, eh? Like he's just literally going long way around corners. Here you go. So turn in, turn in, turn in. And the front is sliding across the racetrack, doesn't meet into the apex. Watch, turn, 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 turn. And there's a good meter or two there of distance that he's giving the apex. It doesn't quite make it in. So whether those front tires are getting too hot, again, it's Max's technique, right? It's his lines and the way he enters the corner, I think, could be better, could be improved. I'm not sure whether he's aware of it at this point. I was interacting with one of you guys, I can't remember the name, sorry, but you guys wrote a comment on my live stream and it was like, is Max aware of this or something like that? I don't want to misquote it. But I replied and I said something like, I refer back to my childhood hero, Roger Federer, and they asked him a question, what makes the perfect serve? And get this, Roger responds, I don't know really. I throw the ball up in the air hit it, hope it lands in. And it's that sort of thing. Sometimes the drivers just actually don't know, or they don't want to share their secrets sometimes, but also like it's self-reflection is very hard because you can't see yourself from the outside. And unless you have someone give you input from the outside, you'll be blindsided to that, right? It's the old saying, practice does not make perfect. Feedback makes perfect. So to that end, where are the opportunities around the racetrack? Just to summarize and conclude, yeah, still maybe 14 for some cars. Like I say, the McLaren can deal with it. But I think turn 2 is a big opportunity as well. To Max's credit, he was one of the only guys with the early turn in, hitting the apex at turn 2. Pretty much everyone else missed turn 2. Sonoda, Russell, Antonelli, Lawson, Sainz, the list goes on. A lot of drivers were missing turn 2. And they kind of justify it and say, well, everyone's missing it and it's actually hard to meet the apex and it's just the nature of the corner and that sort of thing. No, I think Max was, like I showed you guys in FP1, the early turn in, meeting the apex. I think there's an opportunity there for most of the grid to meet with the turn 2. And that's why we saw a lot of purple sectors in sector 1 just changing a lot as well, because neither of the McLaren drivers, by the way, hitting the apex of turn 2 as well. So I think if you can, you'll be rewarded for that. And then, yeah, you guys know we've spoken about turn 14 a lot already. Yep, the FP2 results on the screen in front of you. Well, I just said, yeah, I just said there's some opportunities in the first sector. Look at that. Who's that belong to? Lewis Hamilton, good boy. There we go. So there, and then you got Piastri, Norris quicker in the other two. But yeah, it's, if you can meet in with the apex of turn 2, there are some opportunities there. Yeah, look, Max have a shocker down there in 14. Good job by Aston Martin. I'm not sure. I don't have an insight for you guys as to why they're switched on this weekend, but they are. And yeah, the Ferraris don't look too bad, right? Again, Leclerc, I said, I don't see any reason why he can't have a good weekend or be strong around Hungary. If he's a tight line driver, that should only work to his advantage. I see a big discrepancy between Hadjar and Lawson. Yeah, Lawson looked pretty scrappy out there. He is typically as well doing the whole short corner thing, like doing the whole wide and trying to cut back. It's not working. If you can't get into the apex, it's not working. Franco as well. Where's Franco? Well, I jumped on board with him. 20, yeah. We jumped on board with him and he was trying to do the same thing. So like I said in the start of this video, I think the tight line is a very underutilized technique, a lesser known technique. Not many people know how it works, when to use it, why you would do it, and so on. So anyway, there's an insight for you guys. I think there's some opportunities there. Not necessarily now for qualifying, but at least for tire life in the race as well. That's all for this video, guys. If you could do me a favor on your way out, just drop me a thought, question, or comment. If you enjoyed the video or you wanted to ask me something, please leave it in the comment section below. It definitely helps boost the channel moving forward. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more driving analysis this weekend. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow.